no place like the Q.
Coming across your airwaves, dance with me. It's an intersectional day, and it's gonna bring you the weekly.
Family, is the news overwhelming? Is it just too much? Well, I get you, and I got you.
Yeah.
Family, this is your favorite queer radio personality, Anna Deshawn, and this is Queer News, your favorite weekly news pod where race and sexuality meet politics, culture, and entertainment. This is your number one stop for queer news done right, only on E3 Radio.
Well, being a mortician as well as an attorney, I bury people who have died from complications of having HIV, but also I've had friends who have had the virus, and some of them have succumbed to it. So it's very near and dear to my heart. And, while people have always tried to stigmatize this disease, HIV is possible for anyone. It knows no race, creed, color, sexual orientation. And so today we're giving people the knowledge, and hopefully we will get some funding, because when people know, they can do better. You have to know better to do better.
Y'all recognize that voice? If you do, then I know you're a Bravo fan, okay? And you're a Housewife fan on top of that, and you watch Atlanta in particular. That was Phaedra Parks, one of the infamous housewives of Atlanta, and I never thought she'd open up an episode of the Queer News podcast, but alas, here we are. She was joined by other housewives on Capitol Hill last week advocating for HIV funding to be restored. How dope is that? We need celebrity power in these fights too. Their reach is undeniable. And if you think HIV isn't a problem anymore, watch our series Shine a Light on It. Because today, right now, Black women are leading in new diagnoses of HIV. And when we think about PrEP and all of the medicine and technology that we have today, this should not be the stat that I'm reporting. So much has got to change. QCrew was good. I'd like to thank you for your continued commitment to helping me sustain this podcast. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So QCrew, you helped to cover the cost of our editor, Ryan, who I quite literally wouldn't want to do this podcast without. And so if you are not subscribed to the QCrew, but you believe in the work we do, you believe LGBTQ stories need to be amplified, and you love and respect how I report on the news and tell our stories, join the QCrew. A link is in the show notes. And family, don't forget the Queer News tip line is always open. You got a local news story not getting enough amplification, a queer organization folks should know about. You got a song coming out, a book coming out? Come on now, leave me a voicemail on the Queer News tip line. I love hearing them. And we've got 2 this episode alone. Let's go. And I'm putting in a special call right now. Ryan, put in some sound effects, some boom, 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 some something, okay? I want y'all to pay attention to this part right here, right now. Trans siblings, calling all my trans siblings. I want a rewind of our Trans Day of Visibility episode from last year, this year. I want you all to send me a voicemail. Send me a word of inspiration. Send me your rage. I want to get out the way next week and give the episode over to you. Send me your voicemails. Share your businesses. Share your projects. Share your inspiration, your hope, child. What's keeping you going right now? I want to hear from you. Trans Day of Visibility is a day of celebration. We know you're here, okay? And we know you're queer. I love to rhyme. But honestly, we just want to celebrate you. So a link to submit your voicemail is in the show notes. Please do it. Share it with another one of your friends, okay? I want to give the episode over to you. Now for the news. In top news, the WNBA and the Players Union have an agreement. A verbal one, but it's an agreement no less. So let's talk about it. In politics, Idaho's anti-trans bathroom bill has passed, and it's terrible. So let's just talk about it, okay? And New York makes more queer history. In culture and entertainment, we caught up with the authors of the newly released book Fair Game, Trans Athletes and the Future of Sports. It's an in-depth report, so y'all make sure y'all stay close, okay? And Windy City Times, our legacy LGBTQ news outlet here in Chicago, is accepting nominations for their 30 Under 30 Outstanding LGBTQ plus individuals. You know somebody? Let me tell you how you can submit. Let's get into the show. For our top story this week, family, we have a 2026 WNBA season. I didn't know this was gonna happen. They cut this real close, okay? real close. And this is absolutely queer news when 38% of the league is publicly out. And when the data tells us that 7% of the population identifies as queer, okay? This league quadruples that plus a little bit more, okay? The league, the fans, the situation is hella queer, and I love every minute of it. And so after months of negotiations and uncertainty, the Women's National Basketball Players Association and the WNBA have reached an agreement 51 days before the start of the 2026 season. Now, this verbal agreement is described by the WNBA as, quote, one of the most transformational labor agreements ever reached in major professional sports. Transformational is an understatement, okay? This new salary cap for the upcoming season is currently set at $7 million and is projected to reach $10 million by the end of this deal should term revenue and league revenue grow, which it absolutely is going to do. That's a ridiculous increase from 2025's $1.1 million salary cap. It went from $1.127 million. The average player salaries will increase from $120,000 to $600,000. And minimum player salaries will jump from $66,000 to $300,000. Rookies will also benefit from larger salary packages as well. And just to emphasize the point, because I'm here and I love women's basketball and women's sports in general, how about some percentages to really, really help it sink in? Because for anybody who has spent any time in corporate America, you know your annual increase is what? 2 to 3% on a good year. On a good year when business revenue is up, maybe you get 5%. Maybe if they feeling real generous, you get 7%. But let me tell y'all the percentage increases, okay? The team salary cap, you know, that 1.1 to 7 million, 366% increase. The Supermax salary, 461% increase. The average salary, you know, that's 66,000 to 600,000, 400% increase. The rookie minimum salary, 300% increase. Overall compensation, players will receive 20% of the gross league revenue over the life of this deal. Revenue share. Come on. This is beautiful. And salaries aren't the only thing improving as a result of this verbal agreement. The WNBA will provide housing to all players through 2028, and then players making under $500,000 in 2029 and 2030. Some other highlights are commodified air travel. Thank God. They are too tall to be sitting on commercial flights. Better training facilities. Thank God again. Pregnant player trade consent. We can thank Derica Hamby for that. And increases in player bonuses. Now, the one piece of this deal that I think cannot be understated is the fact that they included retirees into this CBA. That's right. Retirees will receive $100,000 if they played for 12 plus years. If they played for 8 to 11 years, they're going to receive $50,000 for their service. And if they played for 5 to 7 years, they'll receive $30,000. Thanking those who came before them. I love these women. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert complimented the Players Union, saying, quote, the progress made in these discussions marks a transformative step forward for players and the league, and it's underscoring a shared commitment to the continued growth of the game. Now, as of writing this story, the National Players Association is awaiting the ratification that will make things final. But this verbal agreement is a great step. And child, it wasn't just in the verbal agreement. They posted this all over social media. There has been a tour on national television, okay? Come on, NECA. I can't wait to see her all over the place some more this week, all right? I'm talking about this agreement. So it's verbal, child, but the way they've publicized it, they can't go back. If they wanted to go back, it would be detrimental to the league. You understand? What we are reporting on right now might as well be final. But we can't wait until, right, they sign on the dotted line because that make it official. Now, the college draft is currently scheduled for April 13th, and the preseason games will begin on April 25th. And if you didn't know, the WNBA All-Star Game is taking place right here in Chicago. Will I see you there? Because I'm definitely gonna be there. Now in politics, Idaho's majority Republican House of Representatives just passed HB 752, one of the most aggressive, disgusting anti-trans bathroom bills advancing to the Senate this year. The bill states that, quote, any person who knowingly and willfully enters a restroom or changing room in a government-owned building or a place of public accommodation designated for use by the opposite biological sex of such person shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. A misdemeanor in Idaho, if you were wondering, is equivalent to a year in prison. Anyone unfortunate enough to be caught twice would be looking at up to 5 years in prison, and the charge would be upgraded to a felony. And I wish that was it, but it's not. That is not all. And if a trans person was caught violating a bathroom ban in a different state, they could automatically qualify for a felony charge should they be caught in Idaho. The exact diction of the bill of similar statute is rather vague, which they love to do, and could open things up for that similar statute to be something as simple as a civil fine. In addition, family, the bill does not give trans people the, quote, duty to depart like other anti-trans bathroom bills. Essentially, that means that trans people won't be able to avoid legal persecution by leaving the bathroom if they are caught, and will be charged with a misdemeanor right on site. Oh, it's all so unconstitutional. Where is my right to due process? You know, how can you charge me right in the bathroom? I should have a duty to leave, a duty to depart, okay? Even the police, I feel like they're in a bind. The Idaho Fraternal Order of Police President Brian Lovell strongly opposed this move, saying, quote, officers responding to a complaint will be placed in the difficult position of determining an individual's biological sex in order to enforce the statute. In many circumstances, there is no clear or reasonable way for officers to make that determination without engaging in questioning or investigative actions that could be viewed as invasive and inappropriate. You think? My God, today. We opened this podcast with Phaedra Parks, which I never thought I would do. And here I am in the second story of the day, agreeing with the Fraternal Order of Police out of Idaho. Because it's ridiculous. This whole idea is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Idaho's Senate is also a Republican majority, but Governor Brad Little has not communicated publicly whether he will sign or not sign this bill once it hits his desk. Local groups like the ACLU of Idaho speak out about the absurdity of this bill, saying, quote, bathroom laws don't improve safety and privacy in public restrooms. They only serve to exclude trans folks from public life and put them in dangerous situations. These bans only serve to discriminate against the trans community by stripping them of their dignity and bodily autonomy and fueling a dangerous narrative that merely encountering a perceived trans person in public is damaging. Facts, okay? This is why we support the ACLU around here. Family, these bills are vague and they are dangerous. If you're listening to this podcast and you're in Idaho, I'm sure you're already watching this story. And if you're somewhere else where your House and your Senate and your governor are Republican-led, right? You're probably already on edge about these bills. This one is dangerous, just like all the others, but without the duty to depart, it makes it even more dangerous. So we're just gonna keep following this bill as we always do and see if it advances through the Senate and if the governor actually decides to sign it. And for our last political story of the day, New York makes queer history again. Last week, we reported about Mayor Mamdani signing the executive order to create the Office of LGBTQ Affairs and appointing Taylor as the first director of said office. Well, this week, let's talk about this history. 2 newly elected judges. Okay, happily married couple Juliet Howard and wife Norma Jennings made history as the first queer married couple to be concurrently sworn in as judges in the New York courts. The duo have made names for themselves long before this as trailblazers in the New York legal system. Norma Jennings made history last year as the first Black LGBTQ+ elected judge in Brooklyn. At her swearing-in ceremony, Attorney General Letitia James told the audience that, quote, "I am very confident that Norma Jean will be a fair and impartial judge of Kings County and continue to defend everyone's rights to live as their true selves. I'm honored and privileged to be here today." And you know we love some Tish James around here, okay? And native New Yorker Juliet Howard has known in the court systems from a young age when her mother would take her to work in a courtroom. She continued her education at Barnard College and went on to finish her studies at Brooklyn Law School. The duo met after college at an office Christmas party. I love this. While the two were working as attorneys for the Legal Aid Society. Jennings describes the moment as, "I guess sparks flew." And that was that. Howard described the couple's development to Barnard College as, quote, "I feel like we grew up together. Now to have these careers as judges, it's not something I expected. She's believed in me and encouraged me through each stage of the process, which I appreciate so much." Jennings followed up by saying, "I believe it is our duty to introduce young people of color to the court and to show that this is a profession to aspire to. There's no set role to take. There's no requirement that a person go to college or major in political science to work in the courts. This is open and available to everyone." I love that. Most people don't know that. And so many of us, when it's time to go vote, skip over the judges section. But let me tell you, we ought to know our judges. We should know our judges by name. We should know what they're doing and how they're ruling, and if they are supporting us when it's time in a courtroom, when decisions are being made, when lives are on the line. Judges are important. And look at this. We got a duo, okay? A lesbian duo making history in New York. I love it. Now, family, let's take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to get into culture and entertainment, okay? Now, don't skip this section because we got some queer news tips in here that I want y'all to hear from, okay? Thank y'all for the voicemails. Be right back.
Hey, Queer News. My name is Janice Rodriguez, and my pronouns are she, hers. I'm the co-founder of Queer Keys, the only LGBTQI+ community center serving the Florida Keys, and a founder of the TransConnect program. The TransConnect program provides financial support for our local transgender community who cannot afford life-saving affirming care. And we do it all through community. No government funding, just us showing up for one another. In honor of Trans Day of Visibility on March 31st, we are throwing our very first Visibility is Power, Key West's first all-trans drag show. Every single dollar raised goes directly back into the TransConnect program to support our local trans and non-binary family on this island. Be part of the movement and visit us at queerkeys.org, because in a time like this, being visible isn't just important, it is power. Stay safe and beautiful, family.
If you're listening to this, it means we didn't sell this ad space. If you're listening to this, it means running ads on our podcast can actually work. You see what I did there? Do you need some promo? A little amplification? Hit us up at info@e3radio.fm. That's info@e3radio.fm. We have a platform. You should use it.
Hi, I go by Stormy. I am an LGBTQ author, and I am published on several platforms. My real name is, you'll often find Mariette Robertson, Mariette. So I support the community of LGBTQ. I'm also a part of it. And I would love if you guys to send me, a couple stars on Facebook. I'm Books by Author M. Robertson on my Facebook. And I am also Author M. Robertson, M as in money. So I would love if you guys came and support me. So please come by and get yourself something off of my Wattpad or some of my links. I'm Stormy ST Cloud on my link tree. STORMIEST Cloud, as in the clouds in the sky. All right, guys.
Did you know we had a newsletter? Yes. The Queer News Podcast has a weekly newsletter that comes out every Monday. There's a special newsletter for the QCrew, but there's a free newsletter for absolutely everybody. So if you want to stay in the know about what I got going on, what I got to say unfiltered, and just a list of all the stories covered every single week with time codes, you got to subscribe to the newsletter. A link to subscribe is in the show notes. Welcome back to the show, family. Now let's get into some culture and entertainment.
I think we're seeing in sport and in politics right now is a reassertion of white masculinity. And there are other ways that we can operate. And when I turn to history and when I turn to other activists who have made great strides in the last 200 years in this country, their first priority is always the most vulnerable population. And for me, it is very clear that trans kids have become one of our most vulnerable populations. And if we can change the world for trans kids, then we can change the world for all of us.
Family, that was Anna, one of the authors of the new book titled Fair Game, Trans Athletes and the Future of Sports. All of the authors, Anna, Ellie, and Chris Moisier, celebrated the release of their new book at Babe's Sports Bar here in Chicago, and I had the opportunity to attend. Now, if you're not familiar with Babes is the first bar in Chicago dedicated to showing only women's sports. Now, if you've never been, I need you to fix that ASAP, okay? And my homie Chris, the first trans athlete to compete in the Olympics, sent me a text and invited me to come out. My wife and I were free, so we made our way to Babes. All of the authors were not only there selling their book, but they were also signing them and talking with folks. I got mine signed, okay, by all three. I got a special copy. Now, Babes stays packed. Just want to give y'all a warning, okay? It's a beautiful thing. And I wanted to chat with each author, so I had to improvise, and we recorded inside the Babes photo booth. Okay? This is what we got to do sometimes. It worked. And I got to ask Chris why folks should pick up this book. Hear what he had to say.
Absolutely. So Fair Game, Trans Athletes and the Future of Sports is for everybody. So we take the book structure busts the four major myths around transgender athletes. These are the comments that people have been hearing their entire life. These are the things that people say when they read the news stories like, isn't it unfair? Isn't it unsafe? There's so many trans athletes now. We bust all of those myths in this book, but we do so by using the stories of transgender athletes. And this is what sets this book apart from anything else that's out there, is that so many people have been talking about trans athletes, but not actually talking to us. And so we use the stories of 20 different trans athletes from ages 8 years old to 59 years old. And they talk about their experience in sports. And we use those real life experiences through sharing their stories and their words to bust those myths.
Now you can see how loud it be in Babes, right? It be lit. I'm telling you, if you haven't been, fix it, okay? And you heard Chris right. 20 stories from trans athletes themselves. And so I had to ask Ellie which story had the biggest impact on her. She gave me 2, but you got to tune in to the YouTube live tonight at 7 o'clock Chicago time to hear both of them, okay? But take a listen to this one.
Okay, this is so hard. So there is a cyclist named Finley in the book who has one of the quotes that I think about all of the time. Finley talks about being like the first time that she picked up a tennis racket, she knew in her bones that it was going to save her life. And that was when she was 7. And I know that feeling from being a young athlete of like, this is it. And so it did. She, fast forward to when she knew the difference inside of her body felt dangerous and she didn't know what to do about it. So she just kept hitting the tennis ball over and over and harder and harder. And it kept her in the game, And so sports actually can save lives for folks who are marginalized in society who don't know where they fit. She fit in tennis, right? And so she talks about being at her deepest, darkest moment, and the tennis racket is what kept her hanging on because she's so competitive. She loved to compete. She loved to win. Late in life, she's in her 50s now. So she talks about transitioning late. She didn't know it was an option. She didn't have language. She didn't have the idea. It was a life or death decision for her. And she said, post-transition, when she picked up her tennis racket, finally, for the first time in her life, when she played as the woman that she is, she said the white noise fell away. And there is something about that articulation that still gives me goosebumps. That like her playing in alignment in her body, she used to play to save her life, and now she got to play just for the fun, just for the exuberance. I love sports so much, and I understand as a cis athlete that that's my privilege, that it has always been about the fun. It has always been about the exuberance. She finally got that when she was playing in the women's tennis league. And I think that's what we're fighting for. I'm so inspired by that.
Just for the exuberance. I mean, it really is just that simple. And as someone who has played sports my entire life, I grew up a gym rat. My father is a Hall of Fame coach. We really shouldn't be taking that feeling away from people. It's not all right. We got no business doing it. Now, as you can see, the book offers an insightful, timely examination of the ongoing battle for equality in sports. As LGBTQ athletes break barriers in the Olympics, trans athletes still face harsh restrictions in so many areas, with 24 states passing anti-trans sports legislation in just the last 2 years. Nearly half of Americans live under laws that restrict or ban trans individuals from participating in sports. Fair Game explores why taking the next step and increasing the acceptance of trans athletes is so important, not only for everyone with an Olympic dream, but for everyone and for every kid who just wants to join the soccer league in town. Fair Game, Trans Athletes and the Future of Sports is available now. And if you're local to Chicago, the independent bookstore, 3 Avenues Bookshop, and Women and Children's First may have some copies for you, okay, in stock. So get yours today, share it with a friend, make it a birthday gift, okay? As Chris said, we hear this conversation about trans kids in sports. You hear it on this podcast, you see it in the news, you see it on your feeds. But when do you actually hear from trans athletes themselves? Exactly. And there's so many reasons for it. But this book is giving you a portal into their humanity. Go get the book, okay? Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Ellie. Thank you, Chris, for taking the time to chat with me in the photo booth, okay? And congratulations on your book release. Family, for our last story today, we're showing love to Windy City Times because they have announced that they're accepting nominations for their 30 Under 30 Outstanding LGBTQ plus individuals of 2026. The award honors those who have made substantial contributions to the LGBTQ plus community in the fields of entertainment, politics, health, activism, academics, sports, and other areas. To qualify, the nominee should live in the Chicagoland area and be no older than 30 by June 30th. Family, past 30 and 30 honorees recipients include myself. Okay, I was on the list. You may know Precious Brady Davis, the politician out here, okay, doing her thing. Our very own Carter Cavazos of E3 Radio was on the list just last year. So if you'd like to nominate yourself or someone else for this prestigious award, please do so before the deadline of April 10th. You got some time, but don't wait. Senior writer of the Windy City Times, Andrew Davis. Okay, he's a good friend of the show. What's going on, Andrew? You got to email him, all right? syntax3733@gmail.com. That's syntax3733@gmail.com and include 30 under 30 in the subject line. Family, you know it's time for Anna's Got a Word because Anna's always got a word. And my word for today is anger. Anger. I find myself angry all the time. Whether it's a news story, something else happening in the world, something that feels unfair. Death has been circling around in my life for the past month or so. Anger. Questioning of all the things, okay? And I want you to know, if you're out there and you're feeling angry, you are not alone. You're not alone. I just choose to find the joy out here, okay? It is an intentional practice for me to remember that there is joy out here, that there is good out here, and that because I am talking to you on this microphone, I am grateful to be alive, if nothing else. But I want you to know I'm angry. There's a pit of fire in my belly most days because of what is happening in the world. You know, James Baldwin said it best: to be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time. And the quote usually stops there, but I want to read the next part too. So that the first problem is how to control that rage so that it won't destroy you. And this is why I choose to find the joy. So family, don't stray away from the anger. Don't stray away from the rage. Feel it. Unless you know you're still alive, okay? Don't become numb to it. Don't become numb. But choose to find the good. Choose to wake up and find some gratitude. But child, feel the rage and the anger, okay? Because there's plenty to be angry about. Till next week. Peace. If you've enjoyed what you heard, rate and review us inside your favorite podcasting app. This podcast is written and produced by me, Anna Deshawn. Podcast editing by Ryan Woodhall. And brought to you by E3 Radio and distributed on The Cube. We are Queer News Done Right.